All right, so we've got our first part sold. If you look, you will see we have no battery. And also, we have no display. The guy was gonna buy the battery and the mount, but he ended up coming and he only wanted to take the battery, which wasn't the deal, but that's cool. The battery mounts are really desirable, and there's probably less battery mounts available than batteries, so someone's gonna need that mount. And then he took the display. He flipped his bike over working on it and totally cracked his display, so he needed that as well. So we are still up plus $1,100 on our road to the Super 72 build. So I'm excited about that. I don't think I talked about it before, but I sold the other two batteries to someone in San Diego for $2,800. So we are plus $3,900 so far. We still haven't parted the motor, we still haven't given away the controller, and we still haven't sold the brakes or the DC to DC converter. What else do we have to sell? I've got an extra stock seat to sell, and I'm probably going to sell my Z1. But about $4,100 is getting close to the total build cost for what I predict what the Super 72 is going to cost. But I'm sure at some point we'll do a final breakdown with numbers that are in the $5,000 range, and it will be funny to compare and contrast. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following the channel. We will have a little bit of slow progress. The hub motor is ordered. The controller is ordered. They have not been shipped. So we could be looking up to 2 months just to get the motor and the controller. That doesn't mean that there won't be any content for the next 2 months. It means that I'm going to focus on doing some of the other projects that I can do while I'm waiting on the motor, which is I'm going to change the brakes to Magura brakes, 4-piston. I'm going to change the rotors, and I'm going to change the tires to motorcycle tires. I can change the front wheel, the front rotor, the front caliper, the front brakes, and have that all ready to go before the rear hub even gets here. Additionally, I'm thinking about how I'm gonna run my headlight. I know other people leave the stock battery on to power the stock system, and they keep the display to run the stock system. I don't want that. The stock battery is 20 pounds or 19 pounds. It's too much weight to be doing so little on the bike. I really don't like. I don't like that. I'd rather have it all be running through the 72 volt system. So what I'm going to do is try to make some adapters and wires and utilize some of the old wiring harness, make a new wiring harness where I need it, and I might wire up some turn signals front and back, maybe do a couple of other additional lights, and get it all hooked up to a distribution block that attaches to the DC to DC step down converter. But that's the plan. Hello YouTube, and I'd like to say hi and a special thank you to my 69 subscribers that I have at the time of this recording, and to thank everyone else who's viewing and watching. Also, this series is going to be a 72 volt upgrade to my Super 73 RX. I just wanted to check in with an update on the current progress, and also give a little overview of what exactly I've ordered so far and what my goals and intentions are with this build. But before I get into that, let's talk about the bike. So the first things first, to get the bike to this stage, you're going to need to take off the seat. The seat is held on by 3 bolts. One is right here. You're going to access it from underneath the frame. There's also 2 bolts in the back, and you're going to also access that from underneath the frame. In order to get access to that, the first thing you're going to do is clip that zip tie, pull back the plastic, and get to those 3 bolts. Once those 3 bolts are off, you're going to be exposed to 8 bolts. You're going to take those 8 screws out as well, and that's going to make your controller and your DC to DC converter fall down. Then you're just going to basically undo every single connector, because we're not using that old connector anymore. And you're going to take those 2 parts out, and that's going to pretty much get the bike to that stage. The last thing you're going to do is take off your stock battery mount, and that's held on by 4 bolts. You take those 4 screws out, then you're going to go underneath here and take out one of your rubber grommets right here, and then you're going to pull the wire out, and it comes right off the bike, and that'll get the bike to this stage. Now, we did get some goodies in. We're putting a lot more speed on this bike. I expect to get a top speed of close to 50 miles an hour, somewhere in that range. So we're going to need to be able to stop this bike. So I picked up a set of the MT5E Magura brakes rotors, and the rotors are 203 millimeter. I'm gonna run 203 front and back. I know a lot of people can run 220 in the front, and a lot of people run 180 in the back, and you can do any mixture of those 3 sizes, but I think 203 front and back is going to work fine. Made it a little easier on my checkout just to get it all from the same place at the same time. In addition to that, the bicycle tires are probably not going to cut it anymore, so I picked up my favorite, a set of Michelin motorcycle scooter tires, basically. Unfortunately, they did come in the wrong size. We're looking at 180 by 16. Unfortunately, that's going to be a little bit too narrow for what I want to do with the RX. I'm looking to keep it at more of 110 by 80 by 16 front and rear. It's going to be fine for me. I think I'm going to try that out. So these tires are going to have to go back, but that's to be expected with these builds. Some of the parts are going to be working, some of the parts are going to be broken, and some of them are just going to be wrong. So that all goes into the build time. I'm collecting parts slowly but steady. I anticipate this whole project is going to take 2 months with ordering and installing everything before I'm rolling, and who knows how long it will take to button everything up perfectly after that. These are some of the parts that I'm just have ready to be sold. I don't think I'm going to end up reusing these parts. These are the parts we took off today: the battery mount and the DC to DC controller, DC to DC inverter. I've already sold the controller. We had the RX update. I was able to sell that for 300 bucks. Which is quite high, but someone wanted the torque update and they're willing to pay for it, so that was cool. It helped with the upgrade costs. And in addition to that, the enclosure is in. I'm not sure if I've talked about this yet, but we've got the enclosure ready to go. It looks pretty good. Unfortunately, there is some dings in it. I'm sure you can see that there with the lighting back and forth. It's a little pitted and dented straight out of the box. I haven't even been able to mock this thing up yet because there is no hardware. So I got it from custom e-bike, and it was $600 plus $630 shipped to my door. So you would expect it to be a little bit nicer than that, but that's what it is. It's okay. My bike's not perfect, so I'll run it, I guess, but it's very pricey to have any defects. And they sent me the wrong tires too, so that was also custom e-bike. But yeah, that's all part of the game. The motor and controller has shipped, so it's gonna have to go by container over the China Sea, so it's not going to be here for a while. I'm trying to gather these videos up and collect them for the next 2 months, because it'd be pretty hard to wait the whole 2 months for these videos to come out. So I'm going to try to release these in a nice little series. Now, the goal of that I'm doing with this bike is not necessarily to do everything for the cheapest possible. My goal is to go 50 miles an hour, and my goal is to go very long distance. I want to be able to go 80 miles. I want to be able to ride 2 people, and I want to be comfortable doing it. So I did not go with the custom e-bike kit that they sell. I opted to buy my own kit off of AliExpress. I'll put a link below where you can get that hub and controller. I did opt for the version 2 controller. Version 2 controller is 100 amps, and the hub is a 5,000 watt 72 volt hub. So those 2 parts are about as cheap as you can go. I think it was less than $900 shipped, so it was almost half price of custom e-bikes kit. I don't know if they would give you a little bit of discount with the enclosure. If there are discounts, then maybe it's a lot more attractive than what I was thinking. But as far as their kit, apples to apples, theirs was, you know, $700 more. So I just went direct and bought the version 2 controller, which I think is going to mount nicely. And I bought the 100 amp 72 volt that will get me my 50 miles an hour. But I think I'm going to go with a much larger and better battery. So instead of mounting the battery and the controller, I think I'm going to go with all of this will be battery. I'm going to go with a Shark battery, and then I'm going to put the controller underneath the seat. And I think I'm going to be able to pull off over 75 amp hours. 72 volt, 130 amp discharge. Now, I know some of you are thinking 130 amp discharge. It's 21,700 cells, so it's a good, nice Tesla cell, so the pack's gonna last a long time. And I know that everyone's trying to get the most speed, the fastest bikes, the most acceleration to race. Most of the time when I'm riding up and down the bike path. I'm not trying to go super fast. I do want the speed, but I'm not trying to be the fastest. I'm not trying to have the best acceleration. I'm not trying to do wheelies. I'm not trying to burn out. I'm just trying to ride my bike very long distance and enjoy the day. So I'm gonna be building a much more expensive battery pack. The battery pack alone is probably gonna be closer to $3,000 plus. So, you know, like I said, the motor and controller is kind of the cheapest you could go, and then the battery pack is definitely not the cheapest you could go. But it's gonna be something that I'm building for my needs. You definitely can go with the AliExpress, get the same 32 amp battery that's in that custom e-bike kit. You can buy it directly from AliExpress for a couple $100, and you can go that route, and you can still do what I'm doing. Okay, back again with the update. Wanted to show the wiring that I've been taking out. The last video I showed the wires hanging here, and basically what you do to get all the wiring out is you take off all these rubber grommets right here. You get all of the metal grommets loose. You pop them all off. That makes it easy to work with the wires. And then the next thing I did is I took out all of the smallest diameter wires first. That way they all slipped through these channels. Majority of them went to the front. One of them went down to the horn. The motor wire I'm taking through right now. I'm just trying to get it through the grommets and take it out through the bottom. You basically just undo all the zip ties that are holding everything in place. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to disconnect everything in the front here. I'm going to unplug all of the electronics, and then I'm going to I'm also going to take off the brake lines, and then I'll take off the brake levers too. Those are just the 2 bolts, here, and 2 bolts here for the brake levers. And then I'm going to take off the brake lines, and then unplug the brake electronics from this thing, and this is pretty much done. Like I said, just bring everything through the grommets. It's no rocket science yet. Very simple, straightforward. I just want to keep these updates so the bike doesn't look too different every time I check in. But that's what we got going on here. Oh, and then I'll take off the horn too. The horn is just 1 bolt. And then I'll end up taking off the calipers, which are the 2 bolts on the top, to be able to take off the brake line. And that's it. That's it for now. Stay tuned for more. Okay, so I got to stripping this bike here. Everything's pretty straightforward. I started on the brake levers. There's 2 bolts, like I said, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. Got the handle down here. I'm about to take off the line so I can take it out and take off the calipers. And that's the progress so far. Nothing's too crazy. Just take it one step at a time and pull off 1 piece at a time. For me, it's all coming off. It's all getting upgraded, so I want to run everything efficiently, lightweight, and just as proper as I think necessary, I guess. I just want to have a system that's running itself. And yeah, I'm excited to start seeing this thing empty. It looks cool. I've had so much accessories and crap on my handlebars for a long time, but that's the progress. Alrighty, the bike is stripped down. We've got no brakes, we've got no display, we've got no horn, we've got almost everything stripped off the bike. All the wiring is off, all the rubber grommets are off, everything's off the bike. Rear caliper off, all the brake lines. Oh, just gotta take that horn off. That's one screw. For everything pretty much just came off the bike, very straightforward. The only thing that I kind of had a question on was the back caliper was getting the brake line out through the frame. So in order to do that, you have to unbolt it from one of the 2 sides, and I unbolted it from the caliper side, and it popped through the frame without leaking any oil. And then I just bolted back up. I'm sure I'll have to be bled on whoever buys those brakes, but it's off the bike. Everything's looking good, ready to go. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll have more content as soon as we can. While we were taking that apart, we actually got in a new Super73 rear rack. So this is the box that it came in. We'll mess with it in a later video, but we're gonna put on that rear rack. I might dry fit it so I can see how I'm gonna stand my bike when I store it inside the house. But that's the extent to the parts and stripping down of the bike, and we're just waiting for more parts to come in. Thank you for tuning in, and subscribe and like. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. I'll get back to you. And thanks for coming along the journey with me.